Hi, I'm Cheryl, and I just got my Climbing Orchid stamp set, and oh man, is it nice. Right off I made this card, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to make today. So, what we need is a piece of Whisper White, 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. That's our card base. I'm using the new Lemon Lime Twist from Stampin Up. And this piece is 3.5 by 4 1/4. I have a piece of watercolor paper, and this is from a pad. It's by Fabriano, and it's 140 pounds, so it's very heavy. It's the hot press, which means that it's got a smooth surface on it. Okay, cold press would have the texture that you see a lot of times on the watercolor paper, but this has a hot press. I have another little piece of the lemon lime twist, and that's about 2.5 by 1 1/4. And of course we'll be needing our Climbing Orchid stamp set. And these are all the beautiful images that are on here, and we're using quite a few of them. Let's see, I'm using this flower, I'm using this little center here, this center, and then the little accents for the centers. I'm using the hello stamp in there, and the 2 leaves, and let's see, I'm using the long branch, and then let's see, also no, I think I'm just using the long one. Yeah, there's a little short one too. Wait a minute. Do I have that out? I don't have that out. I hope I didn't lose it. You know, stamps can stick on things, and sometimes they end up in the craft room black hole. So let's see. Nope, I don't have the little one. So I guess I'll just be using the big one. Oh, wait a minute. There's the little one here. Let me get that out just in case I want to use that. I get the little one out too. Okay. And then I'm also using the dies for this set. Just the leaves though. So it's just these two. I do need to get them out because I will be using them. So this is how I store my things. If it's got a die set to go with it, first thing I do when I take it out of the package is I put magnetic strips on this piece of cardboard they come on, because they come on this cardboard with this tape that is so super sticky that it scares the bejeebies out of me to take the dies off of it. So I put magnetic strips on it, and then I store it right in the same container as the stamp set. That way when I go to use it, I've got everything all together. Then we're also using the Eastern Beauty stamp set, but just this saying for the inside, this sentiment, let's be friends forever. You could use another one if you want. And you see, I did the same thing with this set. I have everything all stored together. And while I'm talking about that nasty sticky stuff, when I was taking this die off, you see how delicate that is? It's got just a little bit connecting it all the way. I bent this, and I'm scared anyway to take things off. So you know I was being extra careful, but I bent it back into shape, and hopefully it won't ever totally break and fall apart on me. Alright, so on to the inks. We have Lemon Lime Twist, Melon Mambo, Night of Navy, Dapper Denim, and also my Tuxedo Black Memento ink. We'll need some Tombow. I need Dimensionals I didn't get my dimensionals out. We're also going to use an aqua pen, and then I have some 2-inch wide burlap ribbon that I got at the dollar store. I'm going to use that. You could use, just cut strips of this burlap, or use a narrower burlap ribbon if you have it, or do two. You could do, if you have a 1-inch, you could do actually 2 strips of it on your card if you don't have the 2-inch wide. And I'll be using some painter's tape, and this is the delicate surfaces. I'll be using that. I said my Aqua Painter. And then off to the side I have my Big Shot with the magnetic platform and my 2 cutting plates. And I really want my my clipboard to tape down my watercolor paper. So I was using that for something else and didn't have it here. So let me get my clipboard out here. And you could tape your paper down to any surface. It's really, if you don't want to move it around, then anything is fine. So let me get my watercolor paper out, and I'm going to tape that down. I'm going to come in like about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. Oh, that's a little more than 1/4 inch. Let me back that off a little bit. There we go. Oh, I'll also be using my Stampin' trimmer. I have that back behind me here. I've tried to organize things so that most of my things I don't even have to get up to get. I have a swivel chair that I use here, and I can usually just swivel and reach it. So I'm taping the watercolor paper down so that it doesn't buckle so much. It might buckle a little, and it's really important to use a good heavy watercolor paper. Your cardstock is just gonna be too light for that. So let me move some of these things so I can get this well into the frame. I'll put this over here with my Big Shot. Okay. So I'm going to start out by stamping my orchids. I've got the biggest one first. Let me ink that up. And then, because the center is meant to be solid on this stamp, and I don't want that to be black, I'm taking a piece of paper towel, just wet that a little bit, and I'm going to just take off that black in the center. I'm trying not to take the lines. Oh, there's a hair of some sort on there. Okay. I better do this over again, because I'm sure I took the ink off the lines. Okay, so let me take that off. I'm just going to wipe that off carefully. I'm going to try to get all of it, but if there's a little bit left on there, that doesn't hurt. In my sample card, I still had a little bit left on there. Then, because I've been messing around with it, taking that off, I'm going to huff on it, just to keep that ink wet. And I'm just going to stamp right there. So just towards the bottom, I have it at a little bit of an angle. And there we go. That came out pretty well. And I'm going to do the same with the smaller one. I'll ink that up. Take my paper towel. Get myself just a little corner here. Oh, and there's another one. This is what happens when your craft room assistant is a cat. Or one of them is a cat. And he loves to roam around on my table. So I'd be more surprised if I didn't find cat hair, quite frankly. And I'm going to put this one towards the top, not all the way to the top, but towards the top, and angle it. I'm going to angle it the other direction. And there's that one. We can put this away. And then I'll do the centers. Might as well do all of this first. I'll get my Melon Mambo. I'm using Melon Mambo for this. This is such a nice stamp set. It really is. I love orchids. I live in South Florida, and I used to have quite a nice orchid collection hanging in my... I had a tangelo and a pink grapefruit. And I used to have orchids hanging in those trees. And then they had that this citrus canker thing go around. Supposedly it was endangering the commercial growers. It was endangering their fruit trees. So they had people come around and they check your trees, and if anybody within, I forget how far, but it was quite a distance, I don't know, a couple miles. Anyone within a couple miles of your house, if their trees had it, they came and cut your trees down. I was so upset because I loved my trees. If you've ever had a tangelo, they are delicious. It's like a cross between an orange and a tangerine. It's so sweet. Okay, so now we have the little centers. I did those in Memento black, by the way. And now we can start with the fancy stuff. Let me get... Oh, there's my Aqua Painter. I had to search for it a little bit. I'm going to get a little ink, a little water down in here, in the bristles. And I'm going to go all around the outside, just around the edges here of these, of the orchids. And we're going to want our paper to be fairly wet. We don't want a puddle, but you want to be able to see that the paper's wet. I'm trying to go a little bit faster than I normally would here, so I hope I don't mess this up too badly. So we just go all around the outsides here. Okay, now I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to put more water down. I'm going to be squeezing out drops of water. And if some of your color bleeds from your Memento ink, that's okay, because you'll never even notice this. And I'm not covering the whole entire paper. Hold on a second and I'll show you. Because wherever we put water is where our ink is going to flow. I think you'll be able to see if I hold this up and turn it. Maybe not. No, I'm not. Of course, it catches the glare from my... Oh, there we go. All right, see there? See? I just have like dabs of it, okay? I don't have the whole paper covered. We're going to start with our Dapper Denim paint now that we have our paper wet. And Just give it a good squeeze in the middle here so we get a nice puddle of ink. And we have the lid makes a nice little palette. I'm going to add a little bit water to that, just a drop. And I'm going to pick that up and I'm just going to start putting it in. I'm going to keep my Dapper Denim mostly at a diagonal this way. That seems to have dried a little bit there. There we go. Now I got some color going. There's a tiny little section right there. I need to put some Dapper Denim. I'm going to just keep dropping that in and letting it flow. You see how that spreads out? That's what we want. And it just flows wherever that water was. Got a little dry up here too. I'll just add some more. Move it around a little bit. Let me put a little bit down here. Our next color we'll be using the Night of Navy. We'll be dropping that in. Okay, I'll clean that out. Clean my brush out. I'm going to add a little bit more water around in here though, because that is drying pretty quickly, which is odd because it's so humid here. It's been raining for like the last week and a half now. We have flood alerts and tornado alerts and all kinds of alerts. We're just alert to everything. Okay, so that looks kind of pretty, doesn't it? That's just with the one color. And let me pick that up and show you a little closer. Oh sure, now you can see the water. Yeah. So that would be pretty just as it is, but we're gonna add some Night of Navy. I've got a nice puddle squeezed down on this one already. I'm just going to drop some in there. You can see I'm not really getting real crazy about where I'm putting it. I'm just kind of adding some in, and it just gives it a little bit more, I don't know, depth and movement to our watercolor effect here. Of course, it's not really watercolor because it's not technically watercolor. It's these are dyes, the dye-based ink. Add some in here, I think. There we go. I think that's plenty of Night of Navy. Clean my brush out because next is going to be that new lemon lime twist. If you think it looks good now, wait till you see it with the lemon lime. But that Night of Navy doesn't want to come out. There we go. I'm finally getting clear water out of my Aqua Painter. Put that aside, but not too far because I'm going to need that a little bit later. Okay, I need some more in the lid. Let me squeeze some. Get myself a good amount on the top. I got a nice little puddle of that going. And let me see, how's my water situation? Okay, everything looks pretty wet. I think I had a little wet over here. Maybe a little bit down here. over here. Alright. And now I'll pick up some of my lemon lime twist. And I'm just going to add a little bit of that all around in some of the perimeter spots here. Ooh, I have something I want to show you too. If I can get this to show up in the camera. It's kind of interesting, and you'd never think in a million years this would happen. But let me get that. It's not showing real good. Right in here. Can you see it? It's like a pink color. Now, I didn't put any pink in the background. You saw me painting. That's from the Night of Navy. Yeah. So, okay, so now we're going to have to let this dry. So I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to go on with our card. I may end up having to hit it with the heat gun. I'm so sorry. I'll apologize in advance, because I hate that when I have to watch somebody blow dry their work. So next we'll stamp our leaves, because there is a little leaf stamp, a big leaf and a little leaf. So I'm going to stamp those first. And I'm just stamping those in lemon lime on lemon lime. So it's just a little bit of an accent. Stamp that one. Okay, so now we're done with the lemon lime. The only one I need to keep out now is my Night of Navy for the moment. And I am going to cut these out now. I do it this way because I find it much easier to stamp. And then I can put my die on top. Just like so. And lucky me, I have the magnetic platform. If you don't have it, you could use a little bit of washi tape or some masking tape that you've tapped off on your clothes to take some of the stickiness out. But I find this is so much easier to stamp and then cut out rather than try to get my stamp lined up later. So let me get these out. And on my big leaf, I'm going to stamp hello. Now, let me get my original card out. If you didn't want to use this, if you didn't want to have hello on one of your leaves, you could actually do the leaves and then stamp off on the side here, whatever you want to stamp. Or you could leave the leaves off totally if you have a stamp that would go across the whole bottom here. So, but this is how I'm doing it, and this is how I'm showing you. So now I need my little hello stamp. And you notice how I put that down? I put that so that it's the stamp side down, and then pressed my block on top of it. That's especially wonderful when you're doing something like this. When you have a long stem like this. So, okay. I thought I lost my little stem again. So I'm going to ink up my stamp, and because they're the photopolymer, we can just kind of look down and line it up and stamp. And there we got our hello. And I did that in the Night of Navy. So let's see how our watercolor's drying. Not too wonderful yet. That's okay. We have other things we can still do, because we can stamp the inside of our card also. And I'm going to use my Night of Navy for that also. And that's a Let's Be Friends Forever. And I'm going to put that a little bit towards the top and center it side to side. I'm going to go straight down and straight up. And that was a very nice impression. Let me check my watercolor. It's still pretty wet. I guess I'm going to have to hit it with the heat gun after all. Now when you're working with the dye inks and also with watercolors, keep in mind that they will dry a little bit lighter than it looks when you originally put it down. Okay, well hopefully that's dry enough that I can do because I have to stamp my stems now. So, I do have to have my Memento ink out, because I did them in black. Okay, so I've got the large stem. And somewhere around here I have a little piece of tape that I'm going to put down. I have it kind of cut out. Let's see. Because I don't want, I'm going to stamp, I'll be stamping over part of my flower here. So that stem will go this way. Now these orchids are Phalaenopsis, or they could be Vandas. I don't know. Either one, but they look more like Phalaenopsis orchids to me. And their stems go kind of one way this way. I'm going to wipe that ink off. That's over the tape. Sometimes they go this way and then this way, and they don't go straight. So you see me stamping it and it's not straight. It's not supposed to be. Alright, now I have my little stem here. Pick that up, and I have that come up here, and that, look at that, that fits right in between my flowers. If you were doing this and it didn't fit between your flowers exactly, then you could always mask off your flower. Okay. It actually came out a little bit straighter than I wanted it to be, but that's fine. Okay, now I'm going to take my tape off. I like this delicate painter's tape for the for doing hold my watercolor paper down. So, okay, so now we have our little watercolor picture. And as you can see, it's come out different than my original. Every one of them will come out differently. Every one, because you just can't trust watercolor. It does what it wants to sometimes. I'm going to bring out my Stampin' trimmer here, because I'm going to trim off from the top and from the bottom on this now. And let's see, my lemon lime that I'm going to use behind it was 3.5 by 4 1/4, so I'm going to trim off from the 4 1/4 part. I'm going to trim that down to, or from the top and the bottom, I'm going to trim that down to 4 inches. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top. Got to use the cutting part. And I'm going to turn it around, and I'll line that up with the 4 inches. 4-inch mark. Oop, get on there. And trim that off down the bottom. We don't need the trimmer anymore. So that should have just a nice little border of lemon lime all the way around, and it does. So I can take my Tombow glue and put a good amount of that on the back, because my paper, even though I'm using the really heavy duty watercolor paper, it still warps a little bit. And this is turning into quite a long video. Okay, there we go. Then I'm going to pop this up on Dimensionals and put that on the front of my card. So I think just 4 should be enough. We're in the home stretch now, honest. If you're dying for a bathroom break or a cup of coffee, well, I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna, oh, I didn't put my I don't even see it now. Oh, here it is. I didn't put my burlap on there. Well, poo. Almost forgot that. This is what happens. I get so busy gabbing. Okay, so I'm cutting the one end at an angle. And I'm going to pull some of these threads out so it's frayed on the end. Again, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. But I wanted to, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, and I'm going to cut it a little bit wider than my card, because I can trim that down afterwards. Now when I put this down, it's going to be more to the top. It's going to have about 1/4 inch on the top and the left side showing of the base. So we want our burlap to end up about in the middle. So I'll just kind of eyeball that where I want it. And so I know, I'm just going to make a mark with my fingernail. And then I'm going to put some Tombow glue on here to hold that in place. And I'm just kind of guessing where it goes, because it's not very easy to put Tombow on this burlap. And there. Okay, so now we're ready to stick this down. So I'm going to have a 1/4 inch showing again, top and left side. Then I'm going to get my leaves. And I have my one leaf looking off this direction. But I want it coming off of my popped up panel here. And then my other leaf, I'm going to have to put a dimensional. I'm going to put that on the bottom. Then I'm going to put a little Tombow glue on the top edge. We need to have that bottom part popped up too. Because it's resting on top of the popped up panel. Alright, so we've got that done. And all that's left is to trim off the excess burlap here on the side. And our card is finished. So, on my very first one I made like this, I thought I'd try some sequins. If you like that look, I use like a sapphire colored sequin on here. If you like a little more sparkle on your card, I'm not a very sparkly person, so I'm not gonna put sequins on this one. But I guess it does look quite nice, doesn't it? So that's an option you can do. And so if you've liked this video, then be sure to hit that like button down below. It's always encouraging to see that people like my videos. If you'd like to see more of them, then hit the subscribe button. If there are any Stampin' Up products that you'd like to purchase, you can do that through me on either my Facebook page or my website. And as always, I'll have all the materials listed down below. So y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.